because it's been requested, and you guys, so many of you see me in person, and so it's really funny when I say it's been requested. I think people who watch this later are going to say, oh yeah, I asked her about that. Because no one in the comment section has said anything, but you guys watch and then you ask me in person when you see me, and this is one of those topics that has come up in person. So I want to position this in a way that is going to make the most sense to you guys, and not have those of you who should not care about this at all being concerned, because there are the majority of you who should not care about this at all. Like, this topic is not something you should give any cares at all in any world whatsoever about, because it doesn't apply to you and what you're doing. But then there are a few of you who are either currently or on the cusp of having this make some difference for you. So what is Google BERT? B-E-R-T. Google BERT, it is BERT like Bert and Ernie, and it's spelled out in the caption above. But what Google BERT is it's bidirectional encoder representation is what the term BERT stands for. Bidirectional encoder representation. Google developed this, let's call it a product. It's not a product, but they developed this methodology a few years ago, and they just haven't been using it. They've been honing it and really making sure that it was actually accurate before they put it into effect. What it is natural language processing, meaning that instead of the old-fashioned way of searching where on Google side, not on your side. On Google side, if you typed in, I'll use the example that they use on their website. If you type in, need to pick up my mother's prescription, or can I pick up my mother's prescription? What Google would do is take all of those words, can I pick up my mother's prescription, and it would eliminate the words that don't matter for the search, and it would essentially put all of the rest of the words in a bucket, like a bag, and then it would weigh them equally, and then it would give you a result based on the most important words that were in that search, that keyword search. That's what they would do. And based on what I just said there, the majority of people, the results that you would get back would be local results, like where's the nearest pharmacy, pharmacy hours. It would give you information like that. You might get an article about picking up prescriptions at a pharmacy. Like it might give you stuff like that, but very rarely would it give you an actual answer, which is, can I pick up my mother's prescription? Like specifically my mother's prescription. Can you pick up someone else's prescription? Well, what Google BERT is actually attempting to do is read in there that your question is not about the prescription, but about the legality of you being able to pick it up, because you're not your mother. So it's going to read the possessive of mothers and say, oh, this is not about you. You want to know if you can pick up someone else's prescription. Okay, let's find you information about that. Now, some of you might be saying, well, Google is already doing that. Yes, on some level, depending on what exactly you type in, you might have already been getting results, but it was probably because of the way you typed in your answer, your question, your query. And you may have already been getting results that were pulling more in the direction of giving you actually what you were looking for, and not just some version of reality, but the actual thing you were looking for. But now they are, I think they said 10%. They're going to be targeting 10% of searches to use this bidirectional encoder representation, BERT. They're going to use BERT on 10% of the searches that are coming through officially, which means that 10% of search results are going to have that much more accurate delivery of results, meaning the results page is going to have way more accurate information for 10% of searches, not 10% of people, but 10% of all the searches that are happening all over the world. This is not just a thing that's happening in America. This is rolling out across all of Google's platforms. Well, every platform they have in the world. Now, what does that mean for you? Why am I even talking about this? This matters actually because the thing that I've been telling you guys to do forever actually makes sense sense then when I said it, but it makes even more sense now because Google is using natural language processing. So what we have to start doing, if you are writing blogs, when you're writing a website, if you're a web developer, if you're in the space where you're thinking that you want to be creating content or copy or anything like that, that is going to go on a website and be served up by Google, that includes your LinkedIn posts that you should be doing, your LinkedIn actual article posts, not just your LinkedIn regular posts, but your LinkedIn articles, things like that that you're interested in doing, you need to start using natural language when you're writing your content. Natural language, meaning that you are not going to be creating terms and writing things just to make it sound like what people are, the keyword is. What instead you need to do is actually write the topic, like write to what the person wants to know, answer their real question. The time is up, completely over. We're done. Google has killed it. It is done. You can no longer keyword stuff. That is done. It is done. Please stop doing it. What keyword stuffing is, it's the idea that you're going to find search terms and you're just going to shove them in, regardless of how well they fit, regardless of whether or not they're actually applicable to your topic, none of that. That was a strategy that worked a while ago, probably 10 years ago. It worked really well. And then it started to work less and less as time has progressed because Google has gotten smarter and smarter and made more and more algorithm changes to really change how they're reading pages so that they can stop giving pages that are keyword stuffing any attention. They've been really working on that for years. And now with this BERT introduction, they're saying that this is the most significant change that they've made since Google their rank brain change. I'm like, my brain wouldn't finish that sentence. Since they introduced rank brain, this is the most significant change that they've made, and they're rolling it out. They're going to be rolling it out more and more and more. And so if you are interested in becoming a content creator, you're thinking that you want to start blogging, or you want to start writing those posts that I keep telling you should be writing on LinkedIn or any other platform, like any other platform that serves up data to search, like Pinterest. We've talked about this. If you're interested in doing that, then what you need to start doing is making sure that your descriptions and that your content itself is using natural language, that you're actually speaking in a way that a real human would speak. Now, again, I have been saying this for some time because that's just how I teach. I do not believe in trying to trick the system or play the algorithm, because then when the regular humans come to your website and they read it, they're like, what is this nonsense? Like, if you've written for an algorithm, that you're not writing for a person. And when you're not writing for a person, you lose, because the person who has to read that isn't going to like it, right? They're not going to like the fact that this was obviously not written for a human. So write for people. Do not write for Google. Google is now making it even more apparent that they don't want you to write content for them. They want you to write content for the audience. They want to serve up websites that are actually answering real questions, that are solving real problems for people, that are helping people to move their lives along. Because if Google can do that, then they can get more people to use Google. Google is in this not just for ads. They're not here just to take your money. They're here because their search is free. And in order for it to stay the best search available, which it currently is, hands down, the best search available, if it's going to stay that way, it has to learn human and then give humans what they're wanting. And so that's what BERT is. BERT is its way of saying, you know what, we're going to listen. We're actually going to listen to 10% of those searches, not physically with their ears, but they're going to read the words and then give results that are actually about what the words in the search are, right? And so our job as people who are writing this content, creating this stuff, making these blog posts, our job is to say, yay, and write for that. Like, actually do the thing. Do the right thing, people. Do the right thing. So Google BERT, I wanted to talk about that first because very important, and I actually have had people ask about it, and it's very new. And you guys know I don't normally talk about like trends and news and stuff like that because I don't care. And I don't care because if you're doing the stuff the right way, you don't have to worry about algorithm changes and news and all that stuff. I don't really care about any of that. But this one was really like cool to me because Google essentially is saying, hey, listen to that Lindsay girl. I mean, they didn't say that. They don't know who I am. But but the idea that basically the same thing that I've been teaching and letting you guys know that you need to be doing is what Google is like, yeah, by the way, that's what we're all about. That makes me feel ecstatic. So I am delighted to report to you that Google is saying, do what Lindsay says and write for real humans, and then you will succeed. They're telling you do that. Okay. So in addition to that, there is another term that I've been loving lately because it goes hand in hand with the BERT situation. So we've got BERT over here, and then we have EAT over here. So when I say BERT, I mean the bidirectional encoder representation. And then on this side, EAT is, let me get it right, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So that's an acronym, just like BERT. EAT is not a real acronym. I mean, it is. You can Google it. But when you Google it, you're going to get Google Earth because Google is hilarious. So, but EAT is the, like I said, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Now, if you are creating content, again, in the context of blogging, very specifically in the context of blogging, you need to be thinking about this because for the last 10 years or more, actually, Google has been very actively ranking search based on expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, meaning that if your blog has an established expert on the blog giving that information, and that expert can be verified, meaning they have profiles on social media that are saying, hey, I'm an expert in X, Y, and Z. If that information is in any way verifiable, then Google is like, yay, you know, there's an author bio somewhere. You've been mentioned on websites. That is what helps you build that authority and expertise. And then if people are actually searching for your content, for your thing, whatever your topic is, if they're searching it and then landing on your site, reading the information and valuing it, meaning that they're not like immediately moving on to some other search, not other search, but like some other website, they're bouncing off of you and moving to someone else because you didn't answer their question. If that is happening where people are actually reading the content and enjoying it and, you know, really consuming the information that you're putting on your website, that's also building up that trustworthiness. Now, there's one other factor that we're going to have to consider in EAT that I've not talked about before, and that is, I'll use the example that I used before about the can I pick up my mother's prescription. So in that search, there's a couple of things that are interesting there. And the first thing is that there's a legal issue. And so what Google is doing now, and they've been doing it for a while, but they're going to be doing it even more. Part of what makes the BERT thing work is EAT. What they're doing more of is saying, this is a legal question. Now, we're going to look for legal websites that answer this question, like websites where the person who is writing the content is a lawyer. We're going to look for content at people who are writing the website who are maybe pharmacists or who are doctors. We're going to look for people who have the authority to answer this question, not just some woman who is a blogger who says that she picked up her mother's prescription. We want to make sure that the content matches what the person is asking and giving them an authoritative result so that they know that the answer, Google can't know that the answer is given by authority. You can fake authority. But what they're saying is we want to do more authority searches. We want to have more and more people, when we send them to your website, we want to know, we want to feel confident because they can't know. They want to feel confident that your website is being written by an authority in your area. So for all of you who are shy, like you don't boast about what you've done, you don't talk about your expertise, you don't put those letters behind your name that you should be putting behind your name, all of you out there, and I know that you exist. I do LinkedIn workshops on a regular basis, and you people are out there with your MBAs and not talking about it. Like you're out there with your, you know, there are people who have PhDs who are just like, whatever, it's not that important. And for a variety of reasons, we all have emotional problems. I understand. Totally get that. But if you have a JD and you just happen to not be using it, that's fine. Still put it behind your name. Like, I know plenty of lawyers who don't practice law. Just because you are not like a literally practicing lawyer does not mean that the information that you paid all that money for is void. And so you should put those letters behind your name. If you have a master's degree, put that letter behind, those 2 letters behind your name, please. Because not just put them behind your name, but describe what it is that is making you an authority. So for me, I have certifications in training and teaching and in digital marketing. I have Google certifications. I have a Google partner. I have all of these different things, and I don't put them. I'm building a new website, y'all. It's just, I'm excited. I will let you know when it launches. But you know, I don't put those things on my profiles, and it's not on my website. And it's not because I'm ashamed of it. It's because I tend to very much not be a braggart. I will joke about, like, y'all should listen to me because Google said so, but that's like me kidding, right? I do believe in what I teach. I believe very strongly in what I teach, but I have a very strong tendency to be a little bit more self-deprecating than I should be. And what you have to think about is and this is the God's honest truth, there are people out there who know way less than you, who are just significantly braver than you are. And so they're willing to put themselves out as an authority in a subject area that they're genuinely not an authority in. Like, for real, they're not an authority. But if they're willing to put themselves out there and put their letters and credentials and whatever they're doing out there, they're actually getting found before you. They're getting placed ahead of you because they're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. This is not because they're doing anything wrong. They're probably not lying. But just because, this person got their MBA 5 minutes ago and you've been working in, business advising and coaching for 30 years and your MBA is from Harvard and you're like hiding your light under a bushel, girl, you need to stop doing that, right? So we all need to be like, Harvard MBA, 35 years of experience, booyah. Instead of doing I just know what I'm talking about because I know what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm sure you do, but Google does not. Like, Google does not know. And so you need to tell it. Like, you need to put that information out there because Google don't know. They do not know that you are an authority unless you tell them that you are an authority. And I'm going to encourage everyone out there who is building an expert business. An expert business is where you are the authority, you are the lawyer, you are the doctor, you are a business coach, you are whatever the thing is, it's you. Like, I have an authority-based business or an expert business. Anyone who is doing that, you need to not just put that information on your website. You need to also be thinking about active ways to get interviews and to not in newspapers, but in other people's websites. Like, find people who interview people who are in your space. And whether it's a podcast or an actual blog, like there are blog interviews where they will ask you a bunch of questions and you kind of go back and forth in the blog, doing guest blog posts. That stuff still works and it still exists. And so if you're like, well, people don't do that in my industry, that isn't true. There is no industry that doesn't happen in. Like, none. Even those of you who have massive confidentiality issues. So I was just talking with one of my clients. One of our clients is a therapist. And in therapy, there's a cajillion HIPAA-related issues and things like that. And so the group of therapists that she works with, they're trying to figure out how to develop that expertise that they need without like asking their patients to out themselves, which they can't do, or without talking about topics that they can't talk about. Like, when you're trying to build authority, a lot of it is based on reviews and what your experiences are, but then you can't talk about those things. And so how can they're actually actively thinking about that and working together, because inside of their industry, they all have the same restrictions. They're not the only ones doing that. So if you're thinking, oh, well, people in my industry can't do that, or we can't talk about ourselves, or we can't say what we're working on, that's fine. But just because you can't say specifically what you're working on, I have non-disclosure agreements that I have to work with, and I walk the line like every single time. I'm not ever crossing it, but I absolutely am walking the line to make sure that I am still getting the information to you guys about what my experiences are and how it's working and how this is working or that is working, without, going over the line and disclosing who people are. You can do this. Like, there are ways to work around these things. You just have to figure out what they are for your industry and then use those best practices. Now, the thing I will tell you is that one of the ways to figure out for your industry what those best practices are is to be a part of your industry. So if you're not a part of industry groups and you're not participating in some sort of active way, it doesn't even have to be local. Maybe you don't like the people in your local associations. That's fine. Like, don't, you know, join a national one. Like, do something. Be active. Okay. It's really, really important. I just can't even express to you how important it is to be a part of community so that you can both learn how to build your expertise in legal and ethical fashion, but also like be around people who are having the same challenges that you're having, so that when you guys are coming up with solutions, you're a part of the solution making and not just sitting out alone on an island by yourself, not knowing what to do. Okay. So that's it. That's like that's the whole thing today. I did want to keep it short, but like I said, if I had hopped in here yesterday, I would have been like extra super short. And so this was you know, the best way to go about it. What I do want to say is, I don't know, I've said this last year, and then I kept Marketing Monday on Monday at the exact same time. As we're coming towards the end of the year, I'm having the exact same challenges that I was having last year with keeping it on Monday at 10 a.m. And so we're going to see, I might actually switch the timing a little bit because I do love doing it. And you guys tell me that you're watching them. And you are, like, the data shows you're watching them. And then when you see me in person, you ask me questions about topics, which I love. And so I'm going to keep doing that, but we're going to maybe change the schedule up a little bit so that it's more like feasible, so that I don't end up having to move it all the time or like not be here, because that's important to me too. So yeah, that's it. Bert and Eat, not Bert and Ernie, but it would have been so much better if it was Bert and Ernie. But Bert and Eat are the topics for today. And hopefully you guys got so much out of this. And if you did, of course, give us a thumbs up. If you have questions about any of these things, please put them in the comments below. I do answer the questions. You guys can look back at videos. I hop into the comments. I know it's live and I could answer them now, but I don't like doing that because I am an easily distracted human. You want to go back and watch some of the earlier videos where I actually was like watching the comments. It's horrible. And so I'm like, I've seen several other people who do videos like this, and they'll say, I will wait until the end and answer all the questions. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'll just wait and answer them later, especially because a lot of you end up watching this on a different day of the week or whatever. So I just answer them as they come in. Yeah, and I do answer. So if you have any questions about BERT or EAT, or if you have questions about how to make this work for you with your industry, go ahead and put those in the comments below. If you know someone who needs this information, feel free to share it. That's it. Okay, have a good rest of your week, guys, and I will see you